We are currently way outside of where you're normally allowed to drive in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because this is no Lakitu. If you've ever played this game, you know just how hard they make this dude work. It feels like anytime you take a shot at a cool shortcut, he's like, nope! So one time, I expressed this frustration to my friend in Mario Kart Legend, Ro, when one day, he surprised me with an entirely new game mode, and thus no Lakitu was born. This mode busted the game wide open, and it gave us all a newfound appreciation for what exists outside of what you'd normally see in a race. Which brings us to today. It appears that Nintendo has embraced this idea and is bringing us Mario Kart World, a game that leans into this open world concept of Mario Kart that our community has already come to love. And as proud as I am of these 4 videos that we've made, I just can't help but feel like there's so much more out there to find. Each one of these videos covered bits and pieces of what this mode has to offer. So what if we started up just one final time and meticulously explore all 96 tracks with not just no Lakitu, but a full 360-degree free camera. This is the definitive no Lakitu experience. It feels like the only possible way for me to say goodbye. But what I didn't realize is just how much we would find. So in order to make this as tight as we possibly can, we're only gonna show you the best of the best. It's not about showing everything from every track, but it's about the best kept secrets out of bounds that you would normally never get to see while you're racing. Let's start with a rapid fire of the most interesting details from the tracks that only had a few things to show. And then I'll take you through what I determined to be the A tier. The tracks where you can clearly tell that the devs went above and beyond, adding a lot of extra details out of bounds. And we'll finish with the ultimate no Lakitu S tier tracks. The legendary few tracks that genuinely feel like they are made to be explored in a setting like this. And you'll see what I mean when we get there. The first track of the game, Mario Kart Stadium, has earned a supreme tier later in the video. But what about Water Park? It has this underwater submarine coaster piloted by 2 enthusiastic Nokis, which leads to an exclusive, no entry allowed pipe that leads to extinction. But what about everybody's favorite attraction, Waluigi Seabed? I think it's a roller coaster, and it goes in and out of these cliffs. And there's the W wheel, which looks like it's packed full of Nokis having a good time. And the carriages themselves are themed after Mario and Wario's overalls. And then there's one more main attraction. This is the conch shell, also known as aqua cups, where you can spin yourself around as fast as you want. What is this substance coming from these waterfalls in Sweet Sweet Canyon? I'm gonna be honest, it took me way too long to figure this out. But of course, it's Princess Orange, the official orange soda beverage of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This is one of many delicacies courtesy of Peach and Daisy Royal Patisserie. But perhaps the sweetest of them all is this no Lakitu shortcut. These little toad houses in Mario Circuit are shaped just like the ones from the new Soup games. There's this massive creek that just sort of ends on both ends of the track, and in no Lacky mode, you can rip a sick shortcut by taking a hard left and landing on the other side of the track. Maybe you think you're a dedicated fan, but how dedicated are these Toad fans using snorkels to watch a race underwater? Where is the snorkel hole going? Aren't they just, they're just blowing bubbles? Are they suffocating? This perspective of the giant tide pool in this track is actually amazing. And I also love how there's this giant volcano looking thing that looks like it inspired Goomba Lagoon from Mario Party Jamboree. It's not that bad, but if you think Electrodrome's city is cool, then you've got a lot to look forward to, because it's actually one of the most vanilla and unmodeled skylines in the entire game. It does have this really cool Larry lights board, though. Like, look at them, they're going crazy. And there's even a wicked shortcut in No Lackey. You just shoot off to the left at the start of the race. There's airships here with pipes on the end of them, sort of just like in New Soup Wii. And of course, this giant cloud just exists, and these electric pulses are kind of funny to watch. They just like show up right above the track. But this pirate ship in Bone Dry Dunes may be the real MVP. And it takes this full route, never disappears, never respawns, stays in character the entire time. They are loving it. But what about this one? Where are you guys going? Guys, where? No. This blanket covering these toads has the angry sun on it, and No Lakitu mode sort of breaks this track too in the best way possible. Is it actually this cold in Moo Moo Meadows? And look at the way these houses are scaled. It's kind of hilarious. And these toads who are cheering you on that are just levitating. This guy's hand is stuck in the wall, doesn't even care. These two cows move like this in real time. They're actually moving. Colin, speed this up, dude. I think they make like full circles. There's a few really cool No Lakitu shortcuts on Mario Circuit GBA. But the only other thing that's worth mentioning is that we accidentally found if you fall into this brick block area below the U-turn, you start bouncing. Does anybody know why this happens? There's a ton of islands surrounding Cheap Beach, and the track even has its own exclusive umbrellas. That's about it. There's nothing else to really show you in this track except for the bungalows, which I want to show because I don't think I've ever said bungalow in a video before. If you can manage to line up the truck in time and glide over the bridge, you can cut off a ton of Toad's Turnpike. But everybody wants to know, where is Toad's Turnpike? Well, obviously, it's in Toad City. Duh! And it's home of this building. Who needs the CN Tower when you have the Mushroom Tip? And who needs AAA when you have While there is a street above the track, you don't really see it. The game uses culling here in a lot of other places to help the game run smoothly. It essentially doesn't render parts of objects that you wouldn't normally see. But check this bridge out over here. It's kind of random, but it's kind of cool. It's funny to me how small Dry Desert is compared to most of the other tracks. And does anyone else notice how there's a bunch of tiny little cloud shadows on the track, but if you look up, there's no tiny clouds? But this Koopa Sphinx, that guy is legit. I want to believe he's based on my guy Tutton Koopa from Paper Mario, or at least maybe even the homie Pharaoh Koopa from Mario Pinball. Over in Donut Plains, we have insane shortcuts, and that's literally about it. There's even 2 different insane shortcuts in No Lackey mode on Royal Raceway, and then there's the castle. Of course, in Mario Kart 64, you could drive up to it. In this game, I tried for a long time to get in here, and you basically just fall through it. What you gotta love, though, is this team board. Mario's Super Motor Team, Luigi Gusters, Toad Mushroom Powered, Yoshi Runners, and then Lord Bowser, and then Peach's team is just called Princess Peach. You gotta love that there's a direct reference to Donkey Kong Country Returns in DK Jungle with this Tiki airship. They've also got these parrot homies, which are exclusive. It's a track exclusive. They're only in this track and no others. I also appreciate how the sunroof in here actually checks out. It's actually a sunroof. My question is, where are the spectators on this track? If you're going to call yourself the Wario Billionaires, then I have to wonder about your stadium location. Like, where is this place? And I mean, even the track is sort of like a giant mud pit. And then what is Banana Boy Let One Slip? They do have these Jumbotrons, though, that literally just show you what you see, which means We could just do this. And there's a really fun shortcut in No Lackey mode where you can literally just race on top of the mud. The Northern Lights vibe on Sherbet Land is ethereal. And even these fireworks are three-dimensional, baby. That's what we're talking about. While a lot of these tracks are really close together, Piranha Plant Slide is a little different. However, some nice backface culling provides us with these green Pac-Man pipes. This volcano in Grumble Volcano erupts from nothing. I do think it's pretty awesome how these fireballs actually come from the volcano, though, onto the track. And here you can see the track falling apart, along with some unused baby embers down there, just waiting on their turn for the big stage. You'll get there, little guys. I believe in you. The Excite Bike Arena exists inside of a city, and the arena itself has these sort of concourse areas, which you wouldn't really think would exist, but they do. And of course, some cheeky No Lackey strats eviscerate this track. SNES Rainbow Road probably leaves the most to be desired of literally any track, but one thing I found is that these hills glow, and it looks kind of cool. Speaking of cool, we're at Ice Ice Outpost, and whatever you want to call this thing, fine, but I think it's awesome that they actually modeled the entire back of it, and you have to give a shout out to Morton Construction, and also want to give a shout out to the Toad Polar Expedition of 2014-2015, and I didn't realize this until diving into this project, but these are literally slices of pizza in the background of the track. How have I never seen this? There's people even living on these things as pieces of pepperonis. These shroom hut things, they have stuff inside, like a pole for holding up the hut, right, Toads? Not for any extracurricular activities. There's a fully modeled castle and garden in the background of Lap 3 of Paris Promenade. And there's this unused path by the Eiffel Tower, which is cool. And Mayro, what have you done to Toad Circuit? Some of these shortcuts are too much. Look at these fully modeled bunt cake looking mountains in Choco Mountain. And then they got these boulders that have a very elaborate path. GBA Sky Garden's got these long mushrooms. Look at those. And it's got this insane No Lackey shortcut through the fence. Of course, New York Minute, it's got the Statue of Liberty. And while we're here, let's go to the theater. We gotta go see Donkey Kong, the best musical, at the DK Theater. And after that, we can stop at the DK Comedy Club. And don't forget to let one slip. Mario Circuit has levitating mountains. There's pipes on some of these hills in Calamari Desert, but where do they go? We are now officially inside the Snowland little pond thing, and it is deep. Here's a rare sighting of a toad jumping up and down on a bouncy mushroom. And speaking of mushrooms, look at these guys. They're long. They're going down all the way down. And then there's this giant sea of clouds surrounding the track, which actually looked pretty awesome. At a split path on lap 1 of London Loop, if we keep going straight, we get treated to some juicy, low-res buildings that we are never supposed to see. This mansion is fully modeled and the lights are on. It feels like somebody's home here. There's a few silhouettes in the distance, too, of Boo Lake that look like Peach's castle, but there's multiple of them. And let's just slide underwater to save a good amount of time. These classic Nintendo background hills are also in the Go Low competition. They're going low! There is no longer a lake here by the old Ultra Shortcut on Maple Tree Way. However, there is a hole in these leaves near the cannon. The thing is, you do not glide through these, but you do in Mario Kart Tour, which is where this model came from and why this hole is just randomly still here. Is this technically water under the bridge? Oh well, it doesn't matter now. And you gotta just love these massive piles of leaves in the distance, along with this cheeky and also sneaky No Lackey shortcut. The chimneys on some of these houses are pipes with snow in them. There's this massive bridge here, which leads to some sort of icy mountain, and there's even a map of the entire course at the start of the race. These ski lifts have toads in them, and they lead up to this giant present thing where they get gifts, and they bring them back down inside this building. And then they're all excited about it afterwards. And this shortcut is from way downtown. Here's Jupiter on Rainbow Road 3DS, and then here's the moon on Rainbow Road 3DS. A lot of these galaxies are actually separate from the skybox, which is kind of cool. And then the Earth actually exists on this track, and it is fully spherical. This track is one of my favorites for no lackey shortcuts. There's literally one on each lap. There's a lot of secret roads here in Amsterdam that actually lead back to the track. And randomly, this train station has little seats on it. There's even more unused paths that connect in the canal here. You can go up these lifts on DK Summit, but you cannot go down them. Conversely, at the bottom, you may become born again. Here's a snowplow who is just doing his best. And the out of bounds cuts here are they're just too good. There's a lot of trucks and cranes around in Waluigi Stadium. My question is, are they just trying to maintain this beautiful dirt pit? Here is a nice low res, let one slip. There is a lot of extra ground here under this mud for some reason. And then yeet, Wiggler flies over half the track. Thank you, Singapore Speedway, for directing me to asterisks. To the right of the cannon here on this track, there are some pretty awesome looking buildings. And then this one even has a pool. Why are there no goals on this pitch? I already know the fans are going crazy for secret, unused roads. And there are perhaps the most on this track of any track so far. Speed up the footage. There's even an entire dirt road that goes from lap 1 to lap 3 on Athens Dash, but then there's this gate that's blocking your entry at the end of it. These low poly houses make for a massive town outside of the track, and I also love how they just become more and more gray the further you go out. Whoever this rich person is here just put their house on the top of a mountain. And then, of course, there are some more ruinsy type structures in the distance. But where is this smoke coming from, and why are you celebrating about it? And just saying, they probably should have made these blocks taller because we're just gonna rip them up. Who would have thought that the no lackey shortcuts would have gone this hard in Koopa Cape? This pizza shop in Rome has lots of different shapes for sale. It sort of reminds me of another video we've done. Let me just say that DK Mountain is looking good all the way around the first turn. I also never realized that these trees had faces, let alone how happy they actually are. This guy, and not so much. These volcanoes, too, that are just way away from the track actually puff out smoke. Some of the audience here are under daisy flower parasols in Daisy Circuit. The Comet Observatory in Rosalina's Ice World, it's more of a reference to the original than a replica, but the beacon's texture is sort of spot on. And these Mario Galaxy planets appear in the sky a few times. I don't think they're any exact planet from the game, but they do look very similar to them. And away we go! This one seems innocent until it's just completely not. Rainbow Road Wii has Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune, and Pluto. And, of course, it has the Earth, which appears to be spherical at first, but it might not be. Perhaps we'll find out later in a future Rainbow Road. On this one, though, we gotta give a shout out to the homie Ro, who of course made No Lakitu for us and then just ripped up this ultra shortcut on Rainbow Road Wii. And with that, we have officially entered the A tier. Every single one of these tracks has multiple gems worth diving into. Like in Mario Kart Stadium, if you look under the track, there are all these stations for each team and a few other buildings, like one called Mushroom Powered. And then the fans in the stands have characters holding flags representing certain characters and teams. They're even holding some sort of like light stick or something. What is that? What is that? The skyline here is very well done, showing off an illuminated golden city. And speaking of golden, we get a track exclusive advertisement here for the Golden Wii Wheel, which is awesome. And we get this based shortcut that skips like half the track in no lackey mode. Over in Toad Harbor, you get this grassy enclosed area with one weed in it. You get Toad's Toy Store, You get sailboats that represent fan favorite characters and the unforgettable Statue of Peach. And just look at this beachfront property. It's absolutely flawless. Get a good look of these faces on the hills of Twisted Mansion. And there's booze inside the mansion as well, along with some pretty cryptic looking artwork. Like, I don't know, what is that? And then this whole time we've been going inside this dude's mouth. Like, is that why it's all wet in there? Like, but for real though, shout out to this Fish Bones. I'll see you on the streets of Mario Kart World very soon. Now, Shy Guy Falls has this shortcut that goes up the waterfall. They got Shy Guys mining diamonds. They got this indigo Shy Guy who is just having a lit time. This entire minecart system, which is actually pretty crazy. And then the landscape surrounding the track is also really fascinating. Like, what is this bridge doing here? But probably the most fascinating track yet is Sunshine Airport. This departures board is one of the most fascinating things about it. Like, are these accurate distances? Sherbetland is a 7+ hour flight away, and Bone Dry Dunes is about 5.5 hours away. But you know what else is referenced on this track? Oh, Banana Boy, let one slip. I love how this airport is designed, and I also love how the planes actually take off from back here. Now, there's a few different planes, but my favorite one is the Super Mario yellow one with all these characters on it. But how come they specifically put 3 clouds here on each side just to mess with the planes as they're ascending? Like, there are no other clouds around except for those. And look at these islands. Some of them are stars. There's even a few that are a clear nod to Koopa Troopa Beach from Mario Kart 64. There's a really cool shortcut if you take a hard left when leaving the airport and go out of bounds. And then there's one where you go left on the glider portion and just fly through the building. Driving on these mountains in Mount Wario is actually incredible, and you can even drop through them for a shortcut. This giant helicopter is something else. Does anybody else feel like it was based on like that one from Yoshi's Island? I like how there's walkways in here because, you know, people be working here, obviously. And then some signage that just says Wario Damn, which is coincidentally what people say when he gets a par in Mario Golf. This lift house has no exit. Where is he going? Oh, but look here. These Shy Guys unearth themselves from the snow, and you just gotta respect these guys. Look at them go. They're boarding. They are shredding all the way down this hill until all of a sudden they aren't anymore. And there go the fans again, and of course, our favorite Jumbotron. But honestly, Mount Wario is easily one of the most vast and impressive landscapes we've seen, at least so far. There's this blocked off secret path in Bowser's Castle, and if you go inside of it, it leads to nowhere. Similarly, there's these sort of jail cells on the track as well, but I love this room that Bowser's in. It has a ton of details. There's, of course, doors under Bowser, because obviously people gotta work here. And then if you go inside Bowser, for those that are wondering about that, it's even warmer in there. When you go outside, it's a little hard to tell, but these explosions on the bottom of your screen are actually synced with various cannons around the track. But what is the explanation for these cannons? Like, who are we shooting at here? And this rock has no explanation, because why does it need one? Now, Rainbow Road features a few of the best no lackey shortcuts so far. There's obviously this one towards the beginning, and then there's also one towards the end where you just fall and land right near the finish line. There's, of course, the Rainbow Exploration Agency blooper spacecraft. They even sponsor some of these executive suites here. And you can usually find MKTV stuff in like all these tracks, but I particularly love the Toads filming in this one for some reason. And if you zoom out, the skybox has shooting stars in it, which is awesome, making it one of the very few animated skyboxes in the game. Of course, below the track is what we believe to be Earth. Once again, we're back. You might think that this planet is round, but it is actually dome-shaped. On TikTok clock, the track seems to be somewhat contained until pow, you zoom all the way up. What is going on up here? There's all these cup symbols, and then there's a giant clock facing the outside. You can go all the way down through this mechanical structure that I'm sure is making this clock run somehow. There's even wheels and pinions all over or under the track that are running the clock. And then there's blueprints for the minute and second hand, amongst other things. But my favorite is this shortcut where you just jump over the light blue gear. Now, even though it's not the same color, this track is shaped like Boshi from the Legend of the Seven Stars. This water texture is so good, why not just repeat it everywhere? And why not have a swimming Yoshi that is definitely not drowning? And speaking of not drowning, check out this Daisy Cruiser authentic replica. And then this building that has tourist information, proving that this is a hot vacation destination. They even got flyers as advertisements to visit other tracks. And then this one has a very specific message using a 3-letter word. If you can read it, then maybe you should do it. This store is actually one of the few Peach Daisy patisserie brick and mortar locations. And they got nothing inside, but they do have hardwood flooring. What is that? Walnut? Of course, everybody knows that the dragon on Dragon Driftway is based on Gobblegut from Mario Galaxy 2. But did you know that the walls inside show Lakitus doing kung fu? This track just feels very connected. It feels like there's pathways everywhere. There's even a hidden temple pagoda style far below the track. And speaking of connected, as cool as Wario's gold mine is, this massive canyon village is the best part of it. Like, literally, how do people live on the side of this cliff? And then they got the same mine carts going on over here too. Look at how far these things go. If this wasn't enough for you, there's another chasm within the chasm. And then the roofs on all the houses have W's on them. And you already know, as the kids say, that's a W. The best part is the lights are all on. These people are all home. Whoever they are, they're home. If you really want to talk about vast, you gotta peep Hyrule Circuit, also known as Breath of the Wild Beta. There's literally a volcano outside of the ground plane. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's supposed to be based on Death Mountain from Ocarina of Time, but it's also the same volcano as Grumble Volcano. And check out this 360-degree moat that is actually real, even though a lot of this castle isn't, since you're obviously not supposed to see any of this. But the cherry on top is this glider shortcut that I like to call Castleless. Just now, I literally just called it that for the first time. This zoom out on Wild Woods is probably one of the most incredible in the entire game. And I love how some of the track takes place inside this giant hollowed out tree trunk. There's an entire mini village inside of it. There's walkways everywhere. There's Shy Guys ziplining. What is not to love? Outside of this trunk civilization, there's this entire self-sustaining Toad Town of sorts. And I just want to say that I love this elevator thing. Whatever it does, I love it. Animal Crossing features a juicy glider shortcut in no lackey mode. It's got these cool rock formations underwater that have no business being there, but they're just there holding it down. And I mean, just look at the quality of this waterfall that is far out of bounds. And then there's a trolley. How does the trolley make it over this bridge? What? How about the Able Sister shop? They got pictures in there of their family. That's nice. This tree even has beautiful branches. I think it's probably because the leaves come off in the winter, but still. And how about if you go underwater deep enough, you're gonna find fruit stored under the track. These cylindrical shaped buildings in Neo Bowser City feel just like the classic Nintendo hills that you always see around. And there's a ton of traffic going on, but it's all above the roads. Nobody actually uses the streets here. This feels like a spot where some MKTV toads would be set up, but instead it's just Hammer Bros screaming at you. And just so you guys know, do not get on this elevator because you will be stuck there for the rest of your existence. It never goes anywhere. While this is notoriously one of my least favorite tracks in the game, I have to admit I have a newfound appreciation for its level of detail outside the track. For reference, we're not changing the zoom at all here, and we're going over to Super Bell Subway. And this place is a hotbed for product placement. Just look at all of these different kinds of beverages. This map has Toad Harbor on it, along with lists of Mario Kart products. And if you look inside the ticket office, there's actually a rail map. And I'm just going to keep it real with you guys. This sort of debunks the theories about distances between tracks that we had in Sunshine Airport. But apparently, Super Bell Subway is in a city called Golden Bell. So that's kind of cool. In the subway itself, there's a ton of new and exclusive graffiti like Ludwig's painting, which I definitely didn't have to Google what that was. It's very legible. And of course, there's lots more. If you follow the track along, you get this one that says Pash. I don't actually know. My favorite is World 1, 2. You gotta represent because you know we're underground. Like, come on. And then there's this spot where the Koopalings all sort of just like ganged up and went loose on this wall. Fun fact, this is one of the few tracks to actually have bathrooms in it, proving that these inhabitants officially take care of their business. And you can actually follow this strange alleyway behind the Fun Flower Shop. And you'll find that there's like signage over here for some reason. There's 64 on it, which is pretty cool. It's even strangely entertaining to watch these subways leave the track and despawn in their own sort of unique ways. Check out this phone booth in Tokyo Blur where the coin slot for the phone is based on a Mario coin. And then there's this huge plaza that surrounds the track that has a lot of detail on it. And this large sign with Akiba written on it, which is a nickname for Tokyo, and Bowser Technology, which sort of makes Neo Bowser City make a lot more sense, and maybe even why he does those like parental controls on Nintendo Switch maybe. Of course, way in the background, we have Mount Fuji, along with this Ferris wheel on the corner of the track. Apparently, there's an entire beach on Shroom Ridge, and then there's these massive grassy fields for some reason. But one of the coolest discoveries of this video so far is this exclusive, unobtainable item that is stored below the track. This simply has to be here because all of the other items move. And apparently you need one stationary item in each track for it to run properly. And spoiler alert, there is more stuff like this later, especially when we get to the S tier. But for now, wet your whistle with this sick glider cut. Let me just say, I was today years old when I realized that Ninja Hideaway is actually themed after Wario. And in case you were wondering, these statues are dragon eels from New Soup's U. And then there's this pond over here. That's pretty cool. This mountain is just like the Mount Fuji one from Tokyo, and that actually really makes sense because I could see this track taking place in Japan. And this track even has a giant chair for sunbathing, I think. I don't know. There are actually two individual glider cuts here, one towards the middle of the track to the finish, and then one from the finish to the roof of the second half of the track. While Luigi's rotating head moves freely from his body. The coins here are Wario branded. You can see here the pinballs going into play behind this wall next to the starting line. I gotta hand it to him. This is a very modern and efficient use of advertisement space. And I also had no idea that there were buildings behind this slot machine. Of course, you could just fling yourself outside the track and save a good amount of time here. The theme park called Park in Sydney Sprint has this ride on it, which is kind of wild. There's this full train station with accessible stairs and a train with a Toad operator on it. There's even tons of little houses by the river, like very, very far outside the track. In fact, if you follow this river, it actually points toward a desert area with a little mountain on it that kind of reminds me of Calamari Desert. These cones on Sky High Sunday are actually being held up by those like spiral holder things. There are ladders on tubs of ice cream to help you get on top of them. The starting line is inside of a fridge with a cooling fan, and these patrons are getting blasted by it, but this green Toad guy could not love it anymore. So these look like windows, right? But when you go outside, they're actually fake. These ice cream vans have 8 flavors, and there's actually an unlockable vehicle in Tour called the Ice Cream Minibus that's based on them. This helicopter behaves and looks similar to others in game, but it's actually an ice cream cone. And these ice cream mountains look really good. One of the best feeling cuts in the game is when you cut off this portion of the track. The train here has insanely long tracks. Colin, speed this footage up. There's also roads that are very long that you would normally never be able to see. There's stairs outside of the train station that lead to nowhere. And then you got these dudes that are just straight ringing around the rosy or something over here. Apparently, it's called Molecule Man, and it's real. And it's kind of awesome. Of course, this tower is actually from Yoshi's Island. And I love these clouds way off in the distance with these little hills on them. And you gotta love the homie Blarg, who's getting in on it. And he's looking just as good from behind. Look at that guy. That's a guy right there. And this cut that Mayro pulled off, I mean, come on. There are a ton of interesting, unique buildings in Bangkok Rush. And then there's Yoshi and Toad, who appear to be slamming back some cold ones on lap 1. There's a Ferris wheel with some interesting Mario branding on it. If you keep going straight through this river here, you can make it to the Triangle Station. And after the Triangle Station, there's the Triangle Shop. And then there's these long train tracks that you just know the fans love them. And then there's a long road, because why not? Here is the Mario Kart Motor Show. And then this sign, which is a foot. But wait, here's a building that's having a 70% sale. Go ahead and just head around the back, up the stairs, to go nowhere. This building is a hotel, an egg mart, a restaurant, a let it slip, all in one. Here you'll see an exclusive restaurant, Spike's Seafood, which serves fresh shrimp, crab, and oyster. Except the parking garage here has 3 spaces in it. And, you know, they're sort of full at the moment. The castle's reflection on Mario Circuit DS it's actually just like modeled underneath the water. It's not really a reflection. What you're looking at here is the actual speed that the water is flowing at. And now I'm sure you're wondering where this wiggler goes. Just look at this guy. He be moving through whatever gets in his way. Just an incredible life. Look at him go. These hills are so massive and so far away from the track that they must be loaded in at separate times from each other. These banners at the start of Daisy Cruiser have a bunch of Mario Kart items on it. And Mayro says this pool is not deep enough to warrant a diving board. Beyond this traffic cone, there's a nice little shaded deck around here. I never actually realized that this chandelier is really Daisy's crown. This aquarium has the eel from Mario 64 in it and a special viewing area for the tourists. And actually, how did Mayro find this shortcut? Way outside of Moonview Highway, you can find this giant grassy field. You can also find this sign with Fire Mario jumping at an exclamation point block. That's kind of cool. And then we've got Mushroom Moon, the musical, where Peach appears to be yearning for Mario, but Mario's on the moon and Bowser is lurking in the shadows. I don't know, comment below this one or Donkey Kong the Musical, which is apparently the best. It costs $800 to get into the city with a truck. What is that about? At the start of LA Laps, there's a convenient staircase directly to the beach, but it's blocked off. And who knew? Bowser Jr. is holding it down in Santa Monica. After the beach, to the right, there's a long road with a ton of houses on it. They eventually start to just become cubes, but they lead up to a lighthouse, which honestly reminds me of Point Vicente. It was near where I used to live. I don't know if that's actually right or not. But on the other side, there's another beachside road with a mansion at the end of it. There's a Fountain Cafe, which is a pretty popular chain in the game, but this board has all the team names on it. And apparently LA is having a Mario Expo. That sounds sick. Let me in. Let's go. There's a baseball stadium that is probably inspired by Dodger Stadium. And Mario is 64. That makes sense, right? But why is Bowser 98? Does anybody have any ideas on that one? Then there's a shop called Burgers. It's got a picture of the Moo Moo cow on it, which sort of feels ironic for the burger shop, even if it is just for the milk. If you go past Burgers, there's a street that leads to a freeway of some sort. Now, Mayro pointed out that in Mario Kart Tour, these races took place at sunset. But in 8 Deluxe, they're conducted during the day. However, this clock still says it's 5:10. Check out this futuristic house that's just on the side of a mountain. This parking garage in Vancouver Velocity has way more space than the other one. There is a swimming pool that is on top of this ship. This building at the start of lap 2 is pretty elaborate and pretty awesome. An unused road out of view here leads to this massive bridge, which then leads to massive mountains. The end of the park section has a house with a mysterious substance that is surrounding it. Ah yes, Mario Arena, home of the Ice Bros. There's some sort of halftime entertainment going on, but if you look close enough, you can even see their logo in the ice. You gotta love how the bakery, the cafe, the snacks, the tea, they're all in different stores. And here's a racer's beverage that's exclusive to this track. It's Nabbit Grape. I have to say, this track does have some of the coolest zoom out shots. Particularly the mountains look awesome, and there's way more than they really needed to make, but we'll take it. Apparently, this is called a bulber. And it's incredible. These ruins have the classic 8-bit piranha plant design on them. There's a little hut on the first lap. This Pianta up there, I mean, come on. This guy is loving it. But it leads up to this giant lighthouse behind it. These little dudes are called Jelly Beams, and they're some real scoundrels. I'm a big fan of them. These shipwrecks look just like the Bowser airships that we've seen in other tracks. It's got the pipe and everything. Now, welcome to Madrid. I cannot wait to race it in Mario Kart Tour. This cafe opens at 11, and although it sells shapes, there's a churro in a cup of coffee, and I've never even thought of that. It looks amazing. How about a flamenco show that's 5 hours long until midnight? There's a Shy Guy parade. Musicals like Chase, Mario's Adventure with a star-studded cast, and then there's Mushroom Kingdom musical with an even better cast. It's coming soon, though. It's coming soon. Nobody's seen it yet. To the right of the train station, there's a no entry sign, except it's been vandalized by stickers of popular Mushroom Kingdom brands. And then also this building around the back, kind of surprisingly intricate inside. But don't forget to stop at the art museum and check out some of this work. And I don't know if you guys knew about this. I didn't know about this. There's coins here. What? If you take a hard right on the glider in lap 2, there are just coins right there. What? Of course, we also have a ton of awesome looking buildings that are surrounding this track, but nothing that's awesome as what's about to go down. You may be able to tell by now which tracks we haven't been to yet. And it is my honor to announce that we finally reached the S tier. The following are the best tracks for out-of-bounds secrets, details, anything you could want in a no Lakitu, free roam, whatever you want to call it experience. Welcome to Rainbow Road N64, a retro track where the original was essentially a track, some neon signs, and the rest was just blackness. They had every reason to sort of cop out on this track. But no, it's the opposite of a cop-out. Below the track, you will find an entire city, and it's even got this sort of Christmas holiday style lights, trees, all that. There's an Eiffel Tower there that's Mario themed. Why not? And the cars. Don't even get me started on the cars. Where are these things going? Some of them are leaving, some of them are getting into the city. Most of them just go in a circle. It's all organized surprisingly well, except for this guy who gets stuck behind the green van, and then this other dude in the blue sedan, bang, runs right into him. But the green guy is just unfazed by it. And then there's this train who actually waits for people in traffic, but then later proceeds to just run through these light posts on its way out. You've got an animated lighthouse. You've got all these pretty boats everywhere on the water. You've got the Statue of Peach. And don't forget these incredibly obscure house locations. Like, how do you even, what is the plumbing like here? Oh, it's Mario, though. It's Mario. Mario's got it, right? These cars are still going. And check this out. In order to fit the whole city and the track in one shot, the game literally starts breaking down. Plus, you already know the always nostalgic, massive shortcut towards the beginning of the track is possible in no Lakitu mode. I'm honestly not sure what more you could want from the track, except for this. I genuinely want to show you guys a comparison of N64 Rainbow Road. Like, if you thought that was big, but it won't even render everything in Mute City. Like, that's the track right there. And the detail is just simply unparalleled. You got tons of different vehicles moving around here. The cars are going through the buildings. This water here, like 100 track lengths away in Red Canyon, is as beautiful as ever. Seems like Mute City has it all. If only it had some sort of special secret within the track. Oh yeah, it does. Hidden inside this building right here, there is a legit coin placed here by the developers, because if there isn't at least one coin in each track, it will not function properly. That's not the last dev Easter egg either. Of course, if you're into this sort of thing, it's actually pretty difficult, but you can basically cut out the entire race in no Lakitu mode. While not nearly as expansive, Baby Park is still S tier for creating the ultimate environment outside of its beautiful blue and pink track. Long before Timmy's and Timothy's alike wanted to go to Super Nintendo World, there was Baby Park. There was Baby Castle, Yoshi's Flying Egg Ride, Luigi's Mansion based on the legendary GameCube game, and this Ferris wheel with various patrons inside. Is that Kamek? And what about Bowser Jr.'s ship? Freeze it here. These low poly toads looking crunchier than a Nintendo 64 Mario Party game. You have to love it. You've got Peach and Daisy Patisserie, Moo Moo Meadows Milk, which is not to be confused with Wiggler Milk from Jamboree, Shop Paratroopa, which sells green shells for 1 coin and red shells for 2, and computer paper, gift boxes. But the most wonderful discovery of them all, if you look inside this green post of the Ferris wheel, you will find a literal baby item. We know by now that this has to appear because all of the items move on the track, but just look at this little thing. It's such a baby, and it's on Baby Park. Ah! And from Baby Park to literally feeling like a kid again, this track is freaking awesome. Maybe it's like supposed to be your birthday or something. I don't know. There's literally presents everywhere. Of course, the wallpaper resembles the cup that the track is in. There's also a poster for the standard cart. There's Kung Fu Panda. No. Kung Fu Lakitu. It even rhymes, and it's coming in the spring of 2015. There's those wacky 3 little letters again. You know, maybe do it. There's an MK8 poster, which feels like it's a real poster in real life. I feel like I've seen that before. I definitely know I've seen the Yarn Yoshi, which definitely was a real thing. It was an amiibo. I had one of them. You've got Toad Toy Store branding on the presents gift wrapping from Toad Harbor and other spots. And here's just a quick reminder of how far away we are from the track with this level of detail. The bed frame has a bell. Like, this family's got to be very proud of their cup. You've got Yoshi's Dice game in a real-life replica of a boomerang from the video game Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. A little further down, there's toy models of vehicles in the game Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And you've also got the boxes for them all over the place. They even got the stats on the side of the boxes. But if you really want to get meta, what if I told you that the track itself is a toy? Is it quite possibly in Baby Mario's room that this is all taking place in? I mean, look, it's the exact same room that we're in. And then, I mean, these colored pencils say Mario Kart on them. There's a literal accurate globe here. They went friggin' hard on this track, you guys. I don't know what else there is to say. And speaking of going hard, this Yoshi on Big Blue is going so hard, basically skipping the entire track. Which brings us to another one of the absolute greatest No Lakitu tracks. It's Big Blue and has easily one of the most vast regions in all of 8 Deluxe. I'd say it's not quite as industrialized as Mute City is, but it does have distant cities which vehicles actually drive to and from. One of the cities has this needle thing where you look up and you're like, wait, how far does this go? Like, what is this? It just keeps going and going and going, making it the tallest structure in the entire game. There's a few pixels down there. That's the whole track. Just watch in the distance as the game renders and unrenders itself like you're playing Minecraft on your mom's old laptop. And I'm not exactly sure what these domes do, so don't ask, but honestly, I don't even care. They just look cool. These carts stay rendered when they go through these mountains, but wait, here is the best part. Remember how there was a coin in Mute City that had to be there? Well, there's one in Big Blue as well. Please don't ask how long it took me to find this. That is irrelevant at this point. But look, it's right there, hidden behind this floating island thing. It's beautiful. Oh my gosh. Before I get too emotional, it's time for Coconut Mall. It's got this beach that's actually used in Mario Kart Tour. It's got a long road outside the track where one side is just sort of nothing, and then the other side is this sketchy, like, beach with these glitched textures. Like, what is going on? There's a giant cruise ship. There's these cool-looking buildings, and then there's Cube. There's Mega Mushroom, large-size clothing mapped to the ground here under the track. Like, look, that's what that is. You've got fully modeled cash registers. You've got Coco. Toad is really excited about it. Don't ask what they sell in there. But you've got a bookstore next to it. And then over here you have comic bookstore, but there's nothing in it. But it doesn't stop there. Next to that there's toys, which has shelves in it, but no toys in it. And then cafe, which sells cocoa. And let's just show this because you can't normally drive here. It's sort of what you would think, but kind of cool. There's even a spot you get to where the stores have no names. I like this clothing store, though. It's actually pretty cool, outdoorsy. The coolest thing right here is that every time you restart the track, a new Pianta takes a new shift, proving that every time you race the track, it's like a whole new day. There's a barrel travel store, which is exclusive to this track, and it's a very clear reference to the original Donkey Kong. There's another Toad toy store, but the best part is, if you zoom in, it features artwork of Toad from when Toad was called Mushroom Retainer. Food Park has the same menu as Cafe, except it has 3 exclusive beverages, all by the Racers Beverage Company. Most notably, one with Honey Queen branding, which is funny to me because despite being in Mario Kart 7, she didn't even make it in this game. And of course, here is some rare footage of actual, legit mushrooms, just standard mushrooms in a Mario Kart game. And in no Lakitu mode, you can skip this entire section of the mall. And now, to finish us off, can you guess the one track we haven't been to? This one is just oozing with extra effort. Just look at this fresh mint toothpaste on Squeaky Clean Sprint. There's even more mushroom retainer. The Princess Peach racing team makes hair mousse. There's a product called Smooth Tissue. The contact lens cases use L&R in a very, like, Nintendo way. I don't know, I can't describe it, but you know what I mean. It's possible that the Yoshis own the soap market. They actually put a ton of purple towels in these baskets. There's a composition book with a pretty cool Mario design on it. There's Mario-themed bandages. How about a receipt with tons of squares on it? Because all of this stuff, had to be bought somewhere. The alarm clock is Bitty Bud themed, and it's 10:10. I know you're dying to know this one. This towel, it's a part of the track. It's being held up by a towel rack. But who is putting their cassette tapes and their boom box in the bathroom? This calendar is brought to you by the Boomerang Bros International Airlines. Hi, Billy Mays here with Comex Magic Clean. The currency in this track is supplied directly from the shower head. Unfortunately for you guys, and for me too, we've been lied to. This is not a Goomba on a floaty ring. It's an inflatable toy Goomba on a floaty ring. Someone flushed the binding band from Mario Odyssey down here. The opposite side of the drain has a down arrow, and Mayro is saying this is because the same model is used in Mario Kart Tour and is likely designed for a reverse mode there. The golden mushroom liquid dish soap is scented orange. Just don't accidentally mistake it for Princess Orange, which is also nearby. Now, everybody's seen the ads for Comex Magic Clean, but watch out for Strong Clean. It's a top seller, and 2 out of 2 bloopers recommend it. But uh-oh, this toilet has no drain. Don't let one slip. Thank God we have Dino Outdoor Camping Goods, also known as liquid dish soap. And this Daisy hairdryer is plugged into the wall. That's probably not good, but okay. Speaking of hair, why is it funny to me that Toad is a barber in this universe? Established 1985. But all of this takes place in a city right outside of the bathtub. And that is how our Mario Kart 8 Deluxe without Lakitu story concludes. And I want to do a little something special for you guys that are still here watching. I'm going to give away 1 Nintendo Switch 2 plus Mario Kart World bundle to one of you guys out there to show some love and thank you for watching and supporting. You don't have to like the video or subscribe to the channel if you don't want to. Obviously, we'd appreciate it. All you got to do is drop one comment, and say whatever you'd like, and then just leave an Instagram or a Twitter handle at the end of it. I will then draw completely randomly for a winner. Just remember, these are my 2 accounts on there. It's red.falc and Falc Loves You. You do not have to follow those if you don't want to, but just know that those are going to be the only accounts that would ever reach out to you. So best of luck to you all out there. And lastly, I just want to give a huge thank you to Mayro, Ro, Colin, and Dan for making this project possible. I could not have done it without you all. And of course, you guys, thank you for watching. Much love to you all. I will see you in the next one for whatever comes next.